Hi, my name is Jeremy Green, Director of Advanced Planning for CBS Brokerage. Today I'll be discussing the topic of small business planning for business owners and key employees using long-term incentive plans. This is the second of a four-part video series, the first of which was a discussion around how to have this conversation with business owners. The second will be on non-qualified deferred compensation as opposed to long-term incentive plan compensation. And finally, executive benefits using largely life insurance-based solutions. So why would a financial service professional or advisor want to have this conversation with a business owner? So many of you are familiar with key important person planning. You may be familiar with buy-sell planning. This is another opportunity to help a business owner. Frankly, the space is dominated by a large number of large companies focused on large aggregate accounts. So small business owners are largely negated from getting some of these services, and there's not a lot of players in this space. So secondarily, they'd be largely interested in this conversation. The conversation really isn't around executive planning. The conversation is about just the general business interest and what they're trying to achieve overall. Any number of those things I just mentioned, whether it's buy-sell planning, key person, or executive compensation, may come into your head as you're talking about these things. And what we're really trying to do is align the long-term interests of the business owner with the employees and find out what's stopping them from achieving certain objectives. Lastly, it's also enjoyable. The great thing about this topic is that you're going to ask a lot of questions. Just be curious, enjoy the conversation, listen, learn, and identify. You don't have to have a lot of the answers, and the great thing is a lot of the answers are completely things that you can decide that are not restricted by things like qualified plans would be around parameters. You can do a number of things around non-qualified planning that you could not do with qualified plans, for example. And also, frankly, this is a new opportunity for you to get in front of new prospects, potentially key employees who could eventually be new prospects or clients. So why would a business owner want to engage in this conversation? Frankly, these are the elements of most employers' plans. They may not have a long-term incentive plan, and they may not have non-qualified executive compensation plans, but they usually have base salary and some kind of performance-based, either monthly or annual bonus, for example. So what does this do that their current annual bonus doesn't do? It's tied to long-term incentives. Usually it goes out 3 to 5 years. In publicly traded companies, use these things like stock appreciation rights and stock options. With private companies, you may not want to do that because of the issues around not being publicly traded or being able to value it. And secondarily, the business owner may not be prepared to actually give actual ownership to an employee, and the employee may not be prepared to receive that, knowing that the only person they could sell it to largely or persons would be the majority shareholders. And the sticky issues of actually if there's an exit or separation. So the employees may actually prefer, if they thought it through a little bit, they may prefer to actually receive cash compensation or benefits besides shares. So how does long-term incentive plans fit into into the overall compensation plan relative to cash bonuses and deferred compensation? It's basically, like I said, 3 to 5 years out. You have to consider what you're trying to achieve as you're having this discussion with them, but I've checked off 3 things and I left the 4th one. Mostly deferred compensation is focused on retirement planning, where performance or golden handcuffs are mostly focused on long-term incentive plans. In other words, you want to keep somebody around long enough to achieve some of the corporate objectives that are longer term than more than 1 year, maybe 3 to 5 years. And how do you do that? Where deferred compensation plans are largely either the employees contributing or the employer is contributing, and deferring out to some target for retirement to offset amounts that highly compensated employees can't contribute as much to as a percentage of their income versus lower paid employees. So what are some of the design elements with long-term incentive plans? Again, it's designed mostly around the conversation you're going to have, but once you've identified the heart of what you're trying to achieve, you can draft a document up to incentivize any number of things. But from there, the details are less important, but there's a lot of options. You could actually have a vesting schedule or a rolling annual schedule. You could have, you could either fund it or not fund it until the employee actually earns it. Let's say it's 5 years out from now. Or once you decide to fund it, you have to decide what you're going to fund it with. You could use corporate-owned life insurance, or you could use marketable securities, etc. Now, there's advantages and disadvantages to both. For example, life insurance, and I just use this as an example, life insurance, here's a 5-year design, but life insurance has surrender charges. So you have to consider that, but there are products that don't have surrender charges specifically built for the corporate market. So you need to work with somebody who knows how to design this properly. But In the early years, it won't be uncommon for marketable securities to look better. But the downside is if you're going to have this funding, they don't get a deduction till the whatever funding mechanism you use till it's earned. So you have to consider that whether it should be funded or not. But if it's going to be funded, they could set aside and purchase marketable securities or life insurance. It could be designed as a 162 bonus plan or a split dollar plan. Any of them are the monikers you may have heard for life insurance designs. And the purpose of this conversation is not to get into the technical details. That part's actually pretty easy. But just to show you that, some of the considerations in the design. The other thing about life insurance that is great from a standpoint to use is to the extent that you fund it, or you could even have the employee own it outright from year one and just have a collateral assignment against the cash values. That's something you can't really do with a marketable security. So the benefit of that is the employee gets to see from day one the actual benefit that they accrue. They just have to vest into it. So how does accounting, since we've been talking about vesting and so forth, what does the accounting measures and what does the tax implications look like? The deduction is not taken for any money set aside by the employer until it's vested to the employee. Until there's not, and what does that mean? That means there's no chance of forfeiture or restrictions, so it's transferable. That's the point where you could take the tax deduction for the funds set aside. So you have to, if you're going to have funds set aside before it's actually earned, the employer has to understand they're not going to get a deduction up front. But it is an asset of the corporation, so it's not like it's lost. The accounting, there is no liability until it's vested to the employee. So there's only an asset, there is not a liability until the liability is actualized. There also is no employment tax to be paid until it's paid out to the employee as well. So I hope this has been something that's been useful to you. If you have a case you want to discuss, please look us up on the web or contact me using this contact information. Thank you so much for watching.